Review copy provided by Nintendo. Nintendo, that was so kind of you, and on my birthday! Just kidding, it's not my birthday. Hey. Hello my dear sweet friends, my name is Arlo, and today I am reviewing New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. This Wii U launch title has been given new life on Switch, and the question is it a fun, well-designed nod to the classic games, or a cold, cynical cash grab? Because it's gotta be one or the other. No gray area, not on the internet at least. Whoosh! As a game reviewer, I feel that it's my job to be fair. It's okay to have personal feelings about a game, but I always try to give credit where credit's due and appreciate quality when I see it. Full disclosure though, I have some beef with this game. And you know what? You're gonna hear about that beef. So if you don't like beef videos, you might want to go watch a different review, because I'm going there. I'm going there, mister. However, I hope you trust me when I say I will try my best to be fair and not let my beef blind me to the good stuff this game has to offer. Because while I've got a lot of complaints, I can't deny that there's a pretty good Mario experience here. I wanted to start with some good stuff, but unfortunately there's one major complaint I had about this game right out of the gate, and it's the controls. They just don't feel very good. They feel really floaty and slippery, and the unforgiving enemy hitboxes lead to a lot of deaths that feel confusing or unfair. At first I thought I was just rusty, seeing as I hadn't played a 2D Mario in quite a while, but nope, I booted up Mario 3 and those controls feel great. And even though I've been playing this game for a while now, I can't say that I've gotten used to the way it feels. There's one gigantic specific issue though. When you're in midair, you can hit ZR to do a little spin and get a little extra airtime. This is actually really nice because it gives you just a little more wiggle room when jumping without being overly generous. Problem is, you also do this spin by hitting the jump button a second time when in midair. If you want to bounce extra high off an enemy, you also use the jump button. You hold it down as you land. This causes you to spin when you're just trying to bounce, and I can't even calculate how many times this has killed me. It's an absolutely baffling control choice that significantly hinders the experience. It's a constant issue to deal with, and it's a massive pain in the keister. It's a kind of decision where I just can't understand how it was made when the people making this game were obviously playing it. There's no way they themselves didn't also die because they spun when they were trying to bounce. There are so many buttons on the Switch controller that tying multiple functions to one button instead of just splitting them up to make it easier, I don't know, I don't get it. The controls may not be great, but they're okay enough to get used to for the most part. And once I did get used to them, for the most part, I found that there is a decently good time to be had in this game. If it's got one major thing going for it, it's the level design. I went in expecting the levels to be pretty plain, but these are some well-crafted stages from at least a design standpoint. The game uses a good number of good, distinct ideas and themes across each of its levels. It can be played cooperatively with up to 4 players, and I have criticized games in the past for allowing the multiplayer concept to affect the level design too much. Super Mario 3D World is perhaps the best example of this. There's a lot of good design in that game, but a little too much of it was simplified and overly easy in order to make it work better for 4 people. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, however, just doesn't do that. In fact, looking at these stages, you wouldn't even know it was built for multiplayer. There are tons of dangerous gauntlets and tight platforming sequences that befit one player. Multiplayer certainly works. I didn't get to play around with it a lot, but it's exactly what you'd expect. It's hectic, with people flying all around, all over, and as long as one person makes it, the rest can bubble along with them, so even a jumbled mass of bumbling players can make their way through tough levels. It's fun in its own sort of way, but not something that I'm really into, so I really appreciate how pure and untouched the level design is here. And another problem with Mario games is that they can be way too easy. Super Mario 3D World is another great example of this, though even Super Mario Odyssey isn't immune to this push to make Mario more accessible. Nintendo has dealt with the accessibility issue in a number of ways, offering invincibility to players who have died too many times, or even a much easier mode, as was the case with Odyssey. Problem is, a lot of those games offer special items and all that, while still just being too skewed toward the easy end of the spectrum in the first place. Odyssey's like the best game ever, but it's true that even when you're not in easy mode, too much of the game can be breezed through without a problem. Super Mario 3D Land offers the special item if you die too much, but by itself, it's probably the single easiest Mario in the history of Marios. But Deluxe might just be the best example of a Mario game providing a satisfying experience for everyone. If you die enough times on a stage, you'll get the little block that lets you get magic god powers until you reach the flag, sure, and there are P-Wings wings or peak horns or whatever you want to call them that let you fly over everything. But most importantly, it provides the complete experience by making most of the core game decently challenging in the first place, then offering a range of playable characters that decrease that difficulty. A young child or a less experienced player can play as either Toadette or Nabbit, who can't even be hurt by enemies. So if you're playing with your niece or your uncle or whoever, they can have a good time. Or, you know, if you stink at Mario, you can have a good time. But then if you're an experienced player, you can just choose Mario, Luigi, or Toad and actually enjoy the game fully without having to push through dozens and dozens of laughably easy levels before you get to the handful of hard ones at the end. I'm not the most seasoned 2D Mario player, so it's very possible that you might feel differently about the difficulty, but I have played a video game or two in my life, and some of these levels offered pretty decent challenges. There were a good few times when I found myself trying a level again and again, and even having to go back and farm lives so that I didn't get a game over and lose my progress since the last castle. Nothing that had me throwing my controller and pulling my hair out, but it was certainly more challenge than I'm used to getting. It was much more in line with the difficulty of the old 2D games. Another great way the game tailors to your skill level is with its collectibles. Sometimes just beating a level will be decently easy, especially if you've got some fancy power-up, but grabbing all the star coins is a whole other story. These things can be really tricky, and unlike a lot of other platformers, including some that I really love, Deluxe is brave enough to require that you hit a checkpoint or a flagpole before they're saved. You can't just suicide to grab a star coin and then continue on your merry way with it tucked neatly into your inventory. This makes completing levels that much harder, and harder still is the new Super Luigi U mode. This is an entire alternate campaign. Each of the levels mirror those of the main game in terms of visuals and sometimes even theme, but they're totally remixed or remade to be extra challenging, and whatever character you use, you get extra jump height at the expense of extra slippery footing, which makes things even tougher. Even if you just want to blast your way to the flagpole, it can be quite the feat, and again, collecting everything is a significant ordeal. It's nice too because these levels are really short, maybe about half the size of the levels in the main game, so even if they're tough, they're not so long that repeat attempts grate on you. And of course, new Super Luigi U just adds a lot of content to the game, about 50% more, so that's nice. Speaking of content, I was pleased to find that the game offers a number of extra modes. There's a challenge mode, which is always a welcome addition to any game. Then there's Boost Rush, where you not only try to see how fast you can get to the goal, but you also collect coins to make the stage scroll faster. There's also Coin Battle, and the best part about this is that you can edit stages and place the coins wherever you want. None of these modes are game changers or anything, but they certainly add a nice chunk to the experience, and I'm sure hardcore Mario fans will eat them up. As far as the main mode goes, however, how much content this game has depends on who you are and what you want out of it. If beating enough levels to get to the end is your main goal, then you ain't gonna be too pleased. I was able to trounce Bowser in a day, like a couple sittings. To get a lot of playtime here, you basically have to be into collecting all the star coins and clearing all the optional levels. If you do that, then yeah, you've got a real hefty amount of game here, especially when you add in new Super Luigi U. I can be into collecting star coin type things in a game, but compared to previous Marios, this is a little all or nothing. I'm used to using these to slowly unlock a decent number of bonus stages, but here you've just got one bonus world, and getting all the star coins in a regular world unlocks one bonus stage. I don't know if it was like this in the last few new Super Mario Bros. Games or what, but it's not a super satisfying amount of bonus content in my eyes, and it's not really a big incentive to collect star coins, but I don't know, that's just me. Everything I've said so far can act as the bulk of my review, so if you don't like having beef today, you can probably just turn the video off now, because here's the real beef. As I've said, the level design is pretty good and the game offers a decent challenge, and for some people that's gonna be enough. But that ain't quite enough for me. On a creative level, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is a barren wasteland. And I don't just mean the story. Apart from the usual Bowser kidnapping Peach thing, Bowser having a giant robot arm, it's like the whole story. That's the plot synopsis on the back of the box. It's Mario, and Bowser has a giant robot arm in this one. I don't like it, and I could talk your ear off about how even the slightest effort in the story department can make a big difference, but I'm used to it. That's not the whole problem. I can even kind of forgive this game being a giant callback to Mario 3 and Mario World, and I use the word callback with very unenthusiastic and eye-rolly air quotes. You got Koopalings, you got repeated boom boom fights, you got Yoshi eating apples. The problem isn't referencing the old games. The problem is only referencing the old games without bringing any significant new ideas to the table at all. I could take all the callbacks if it at least did literally anything interesting on its own, but it just doesn't. Visually, it just might be the most fine game Nintendo has ever put out. The Wii U was their first HD system. They had the opportunity to really do something great with it visually, or at least something kind of interesting, but mildly pleasant is just about the best you're gonna get here. It's all simple and shiny and plasticky and just kinda whatever. You've got a handful of backgrounds that start to look like something cool. The famous example is the painterly background in the swamp, but the theme is only touched on before it's tossed away and replaced with more whatever. And don't get me started on the music. Considering Mario's long history of positively stellar music, there is a startling lack of original tunes in this game, and it crams the main theme down your throat so many times that by World 2 you're sick of it, and all the critters dancing to the ba-bas make you want to throw your Switch out the window. Even you, Cloud. Even you're singing to this dumb song. I don't know why that makes me so mad, but it does. Shut your mouth, you dumb Cloud! It's not just about flavor and presentation, though. It's also an issue of design. You want to know what idea defines this game? You want to know the one big idea it brings to the table that really just represents its identity? It's this flying squirrel suit. It lets you glide like the Tanuki suit, except you can't hit stuff with it. You can get one little upward boost when you hit the trigger, and it lets you stick to walls for a second or two. I'm honestly not sure if there has ever been a less inspired, less interesting suit in a Mario game, and that's this game's new thing. If Miyamoto is convinced that F-Zero needs to go decades without a new entry because they can't think of a new idea for it, why is this squirrel suit enough of a new idea to hinge a new Mario on? The first new Super Mario Bros. Was the first 2D retread, so it got a pass. The Wii one introduced 4-player co-op, which was a very new concept for Mario. New Super Mario Bros. 2, at the very least, had the whole coin gimmick. 3D Land and 3D World don't have much in the way of flavor, but at least their main suits meant something. The enemies had Tanuki and cat powers. Bowser had Tanuki and cat powers. They were themes that ran through their respective games. Not super interesting, but it was something. But this game has none of that. The squirrel suit is not used in any interesting way. It's not a theme, it's just a suit that you can get, and a super lame one at that. And the game's level design may be good, but there are no strong new design ideas to justify the word new in the title. Gameplay-wise, it's the same old Mario we've been playing for decades with almost no changes or improvements beyond the stuff we got in the other quote-unquote new Super Mario Bros. Games like wall jumping. Because of this, the entire experience is forgettable to the maximum degree. It's bland, it's safe and unambitious even by Nintendo's standards. Even the tiniest barest amount of effort, even one new interesting concept, anything would have made this game loads better. But forgive me if I've been throwing this accusation around too much recently. Nintendo just wasn't interested in doing any more than the absolute bare minimum to make this a Mario game, like the old Mario games that everyone remembers. The only thing they set out to do was repackage the same old Mario experience again for the millionth time. And you know what? I tried to wait as long as I could before bringing up Donkey Kong, because if I'm not careful, this video will stop being a new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe review and start being why Donkey Kong is 6,000 times better than Mario. But it's just hard to play Mario when the last two DK titles exist. They're everything that Mario tries to be, but they're so much better in every conceivable way. The genius design, the perfect controls, the gorgeous presentation, the astounding music, the charming as heck characters and creatures. It's what a new 2D platformer should actually be. It's a truly new version of an old game series. And even beside DK, lots of indie developers are pushing the genre forward, doing new and exciting things with it, and even just doing the basics better. Nintendo pioneered the platformer genre. Mario is their flagship series. And yet this is the most they want for it? They're happy with it not doing a single thing that it couldn't do 30 years ago? In fact, in many ways, they're happy with it doing less. What about all the secrets and weird items and stuff from Mario 3? Nope, none of that. Too interesting an idea, gotta go. Hey, you know what? It is fun and cathartic to rant like this, but it ain't all bad news. This game released over 5 years ago, and it was a launch title for the Wii U, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was a little rushed. Since its creation, Nintendo has seen great success revitalizing their franchises with new ideas, and Super Mario Maker itself shows that maybe Mario has reached a point of saturation, and that Nintendo is willing to really take a step back and examine the series. For all we know, a real Super Mario Bros. 4 is being developed as we speak. Maybe this game was just a quick cash release on a problematic console, and it's been re-released for the Switch because why not? It makes all the sense in the world. I probably would have ported this game to Switch if I were them. People like 2D Mario. Doesn't even matter what the 2D Marios are like, people will play them, as I'm sure they're playing this one now, and in most cases they're probably very much enjoying it. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If this is literally your favorite game in the world, more power to you. You're still my friend. I just figure if I'm gonna review New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give you all the beef I got. And there it is, beef has been served. That beef's been cooking for 5 years, so I hope you liked it. So there you have it. Is the game disappointing? Sure. But as much as I would love to let my irrational self just chuck the whole thing in the trash and tell you that it's a dumb waste of time, I can't. It may be tragically uninspired, but at its heart, it's still a pretty good Mario game, even if it never goes beyond pretty good. It might have just barely edged itself up a point if it didn't have such ridiculous control issues. They just don't feel quite right, especially compared to a lot of other modern platformers, and I can't stress enough how much the spin when trying to bounce thing throws me off. So, at the end of the day, it's a middle-of-the-road game, and I give it a middle-of-the-road score. 4 out of 7. Little known fact about Arlo. To Nintendo, Deluxe means a port with some extra content or features. But in my house, if something is deluxe, it means you've fried cheese onto it.